What's a subtle sign that someone is a good person but doesn't want to show it? My boss at the car parts warehouse was basically the meanest guy you'd ever meet. Mr. Klein had this permanent scowl and never said hi back when people walked past him. He'd dock your pay if you were even 3 minutes late and made everyone turn their phones off during shifts. Workers would literally hide from him when they saw him coming down the aisles. I'd been working there for about 6 months and was already looking for another job. The guy made everyone miserable. He'd yell at people for wasting supplies and never let anyone take smoke breaks unless it was exactly their scheduled time. If you tried to make small talk, he'd just grunt and walk away. Then my brother got into this really bad motorcycle accident, hit a semi-truck on the highway, and was in the ICU with a bunch of broken bones. I was freaking out because I needed to get to the hospital but was scared to ask for time off. Klein hated when people called out. I walked up to his office all nervous and told him what happened. He just stared at me for like 10 seconds without saying anything. I thought he was gonna fire me or something. Then he said, "Clock out and go. Don't worry about it." That was it. No lecture about finding coverage or making up the hours later. I was shocked, but didn't think much of it until I came back 3 days later. There was this white envelope sitting on my workbench with my name on it. Inside was $600 cash and a yellow sticky note that said, "For gas, parking, and food while you help your family, don't pay it back." I thought someone was messing with me, but the handwriting was definitely his. That weird, scratchy writing he used when he signed our timesheets. I asked around, but nobody knew anything about it. When I tried to thank him, he just grunted and walked away like usual. That's when I started paying attention to other stuff, like when Jake's truck broke down and he couldn't afford to fix it. Klein somehow got him a rental car and told him it was covered by the company, but we didn't have company cars. He paid for it himself. When Lisa's daycare kept calling because she was late picking up her kid, Klein started letting her leave 15 minutes early. Never said anything about it, just pretended not to notice when she'd sneak out the back door. This one time, Tommy cut his hand pretty bad on some metal and was bleeding everywhere. Klein drove him to urgent care himself instead of calling an ambulance. Sat in the waiting room for 3 hours even though Tommy said his girlfriend could pick him up. He still acted like he hated everybody though. Still yelled at people for being on their phones and made everyone clean up their stations before leaving. But whenever someone really needed help, he'd show up before anyone else even knew there was a problem. Like when Maria's apartment flooded and she didn't have anywhere to stay, Klein gave her the keys to this little cabin he owned by the lake. Told her she could stay there as long as she needed. When people asked about it, he'd just say she was house sitting for him. The weirdest thing was how he'd stay late every Friday to double check all the safety reports. He said it was because corporate required it, but I found out later that he did it so none of us had to work overtime. He could have made any of us stay late, but he always did it himself. One day I was working near his office and heard him on the phone with someone's landlord. Apparently one of the guys from second shift was about to get evicted. Klein was arguing with the landlord about giving the guy more time and even offered to pay part of the rent until he caught up. When Christmas came around, everyone was complaining about how Klein probably wouldn't even let us have a party. But then we all showed up Monday morning and there were these huge gift baskets on everyone's workbench. Good stuff too. Gift cards, fancy coffee, tools we actually needed. No note or anything. He never admitted he did it. The guy who trained me said Klein's wife died about 5 years ago and he'd been angry ever since. But I started thinking maybe he wasn't angry. Maybe he just didn't know how to show he cared without looking weak or something. Last month I finally got up the courage to ask him about the money he gave me when my brother got hurt. He got all red in the face and told me to get back to work. But then he mumbled something about how family comes first and walked away real fast.